Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're really delighted to see you all today for this practical session. You know, it's a practical session. Gibbs model practice today. You know, it's experiential. So we're going to precise the rules for our meeting today. A few words about Professor Graham Gibbs. Gibbs actually is an American psychologist and sociologist, famous for his significant influence on teaching, learning methods, and assessment. And his pioneering work is dated 1988 with his book named Learning by Doing, a guide to teaching and learning methods. And this work actually revolutionized teaching methods in education. And this approach spread all through different fields. And the specificity we can notice in this model, of this Gibbs model, is the focus on feelings, emotions that you're going to experiment in the cycle, in the Gibbs cycle. Okay, great. Let's go on. So your host today. A few words quickly. With Anne, I'm a co-leader of this project. We imagined this project 1.5 years before. We were volunteers for EMCC Global and noticing that people speak a lot about the reflexive approach, reflexivity, but few know really what it is about. And few know how to practice it. So that's how it began, the whole idea. I'm a volunteer for EMCC Global for accreditation as assessor, verifier, facilitator for the 5-day challenge. And you can see the other details about me on the page. I won't be longer. Han?
Yes, so we're here to support the reflective and reflexive practice in our world, not only with coaches, but also with whoever wants to reflect. So I'm glad I'm co-leading this project with Catherine, and I've been a volunteer with EMCC for a very long time. I think I joined EMCC in 2006, and I've been volunteering on different areas, and especially now on the assessing side and the 5-day challenge and these webinars. So welcome.
Okay. So I explained you the genesis of this project, so I go faster on this one. Han?
Well, we talked a bit about it already. The purpose is really to make reflection and reflexive practice simple. We want to share one model at a time, not many models, just one. And the idea is that you can practice it together. So we explain the model. That's what we'll be doing in a second with the Gibbs model. And then after, you can practice in a safe space. The idea is really also to meet people, thanks to that. And it's very much, as I was saying earlier, for anybody who wants to reflect and embed that kind of approach in their professional routines. It can be coaches, mentors, leaders, anybody who feels they need to step back and reflect and build their ethical maturity.
What's in it for you? Well, Anne spoke about the target audience. So yes, mental coaches, leaders, anyone who wants to practice reflexivity and reflection. And we hope we can share with you the joy of practicing it. Because when you've got the click, as we say in French, that's just wonderful day to day. The format of these webinars are bi-monthly. We consider them with a hand, and alternatively, we have a robust model very well known in the world, like Gibbs or STAR, and we will have Cobra at the end of the year. And alternatively, we have a VIP, invited person, well known for her or his production about reflexivity. Last time we had the joy to welcome Claire Beckett, who is very creative in reflexivity, and it was very wonderful. And you can find all the recordings of previous sessions on EMCC website. Nicola will put the link in the chat so that you can find the slides and the recordings if you're interested. Because of course there is no one model, there are an infinity of models, and we just want to share with you the most well-known and the creative ones.
Yes, so if we just look back, we already had the 4th session of that type of workshop. First session, we had Karin Prentice and Elaine Patterson in presenting the 7 C's model. If you're interested, you can find information on the website. With Catherine, we did present the STAR model. And last time it was Claire Beckett who was with us, and today it's the Gibbs model. So we alternate one of these models and guests. So here.
And for the last semester of late 2024 and early 2025, we will propose you Sam McGill on the 30th of September in English. Then we will go to the Kolb model. It will be for November the 12th. And the next session will be with Felicia Lowe. She confirmed that she would be with us. We just have to check with her the dates and timings. So here's the planning. Keep it in memory for your agenda.
Good. So reflective and reflexive.
And reflexive.
So what are we talking about? Because there are really 2 clearly distinct key steps. And it's true that very often people think that it's just the reflective approach. And reflective is something we do quite naturally, which is understanding the situation at 360 degrees. It's really the systemic approach.
And there's also the second key step, which is the reflexive approach. And there it's looking at how you react, how you're feeling, challenging your assumptions. We're going to enter more details, but it's not external. It's you confronted to the situation. Where are you challenged, and how are you going to adjust your practice considering all this?
So if we go back to the reflective part, this is quite key, and it's actually the competence number 1, with being understanding self in our reference. And it's really how I can understand myself. I can also understand others, understand the context. So that's really the systemic approach. And this is linked to understanding the values that are behind, whether they are my personal values, professional values, organizational, social, cultural, I would say as well. And all of these can help us to step back and develop a critical consciousness.
On the reflexive part of the approach, you can challenge your assumptions, your attitudes, your habits, your skills, develop reflexive questions, powerful questions for your practice, and gain ethical maturity step by step by developing your ethical maturity and converting insights into concrete actions. Because in the end, whatever the model you can use, in the end, what is really interesting is, okay, concretely speaking, what is going to change for me? How I'm going to adjust my practice and so forth. What competencies I'm going to look for to go further and to enrich. What is expected by EMCC Global? This part is for those of you who want and are interested in accreditation more specifically. And you will find on this link that Nicola is going to put in the chat, you will find a document, very interesting, a guide about reflection and reflexivity as a dynamic inquiry of professional practice. It's really thinking with a purpose, like EMCC Global considers it, to deliberate on issues and perceptions related with your practice, with your professional practice. So let's experiment now.
Yes.
Yes. Here is the Gibbs model with its 6 stages. And for an appetizer, we're going to share 2 examples, Anne and I, coming from our experience. I begin with a case I had 2 months ago, so it's really recent. I'm going to tell you what happened and how I went through the different stages of Gibbs model with this case. So first stage of Gibbs model, the description, the facts. I explained to you, it's a coaching case for an executive committee, the leader and 5 managers. One of the members of the team, who is very expert, very demanding, behaves harshly towards the others, blocking the team. But that's one problem among others. That's not the only one. I'm called upon to provide coaching over several months with the following demand: boosting and strengthening trust, communicating with a good situational intelligence, daring to say, mastering the art of feedback, injecting positivity into the management team. My intervention strategy is to bring, like always in collective processes, a co-pilot process to adjust the coaching during the coaching, almost step by step with a part of the committee. And I also have a strategy with different approaches, including MBTI, ORSC from Sierra Global, Lencioni approach, non-violent communication, ethical lenses, and so forth. So a member of the team joins the process with the following preconceptions. It won't change. Decisions are taken far too slowly in the company. Let's call this member Alexi, because I will speak later about Alexi. Alexi is very radical during the coaching sessions, taking positions such as contempt, criticism, condemnation, either half-heartedly or outright. And the others keep quiet and do not know how to react in front of this. And I observed that Alex is actually the only person who dares to speak loud about dysfunctions in this team. Speaking about dysfunction is clearly countercultural in this company. That's first stage. Stage 2, emotions, feelings. I felt sorry for the group when I saw the impact. I am an empathetic person, so I really felt it was hard. I work like a sounding board, you know, with emotions. So I was alerted by this form of violence in the group. I felt also annoyed by this behavior, which I know can put me under stress and make me react by a natural automatism of confrontation if I do not pay attention to my posture. But of course I did not, but I was conscious about that. I was aware of that. And I also felt responsible for the quality of the exchanges during the sessions. And that's not all, I felt guilty as well, and powerlessness as well at the time, because it was so unpredictable, all this outburst of radicalism. Stage 3, evaluation. The good part of what happened is that the team learned to speak loud progressively about dysfunctions. In French, we have an expression which says they left the carpet a little bit. Another good point is that my irritation enabled me to spot the system parallel process and to do something with it. I will tell you later what, but this emotion brought me to be aware of something of a parallel process. And the good thing is that I brought the topic in supervision, and this provided really interesting reflection for me and a feed forward for action. The bad thing in evaluation stage was that Alexis stopped the development of the team, and he was also stressed himself by always having to play the bad role, the wrong role. And one last thing is that the team sometimes was petrified by all this. Analyzing stage 4. I analyzed that there was something of the Karpman triangle with victim, rescuer, persecutor, and also a bottom-up systemic reflect. I live what they live, okay, as a coach. The group is afraid of Alexis' reaction and outbursts, and no one there to confront him. During the coaching session in my presence, Alexis displays behaviors that render the team powerless. So I have an ethical dilemma here. Shall I let the group do his work and deal with Alexis little bit by little bit, or do I do something about this? So I bring this to supervision. Stage 5, conclusion. The value of regular supervision, really. I work this in supervision, and how I can be modelizing, is that a good word? Yeah, modelizing as a coach by reacting. In fact, I had insights about the fact that, yes, Alexis rigidifies the system through fear. Alexis' position is worth talking about, and he formulates interesting things in a way that makes it impossible for anyone to follow him. So what can the group do with all this powerlessness? And let's speak about it in a meta position. So that's what I decided. Action plan, stage 6, last stage of Gibbs model. I've decided to meta-communicate with a group in session, to observe with a group what was happening concretely, to get them to think about what each person is doing and what each person is injecting into the collective. And I observed that each member of the committee took a part of responsibility, and they shared more free speaking about dysfunctions step by step. So it was really interesting to make this choice. That was my example.
Thank you, Catherine. And I'll share another example. So yeah, I had an example with Catherine with team coaching, and for me, I'm going to use one in individual coaching. So the description is that it was the halfway through a quadripartite meeting. So we were HR, the manager of the coachee, and myself. The coach, it's a special environment because it's in a hospital. So my coachee is a surgeon. Her boss is in charge of the whole service. And so we're here to review the objectives and see if the expected results are, if we're going that direction or not, and if we need to change. So amongst the two of the objectives we have is how she can be more assertive, so that at some stage she can become the boss. The meeting happens in such a way that, first of all, instead of lasting for only an hour, it lasts for an hour and a half. The boss never looks at the coachee, so he completely avoids her, and he keeps on invalidating anything that she's done. So that's the description. The feelings, the emotions during the session. Well, you can imagine, first of all, I'm surprised. But first of all, I had joy, because when the coachee started, she was very proud with being more assertive, which she was. And then it turned out as a surprise when the manager started talking and just invalidating absolutely everything and renegotiating all the objectives and expected results. So from surprise, I moved to sadness. And I could see that on the faces of the people who were in the meeting. Well, at least the two other ladies, but not the gentleman who was the boss of my client, because he was quite angry. So there was some anger flying in the room. And also, I have to admit, a lot of fear of what would be happening, because of that situation that was so unexpected. So here, if I move on to stage 3 evaluation, what went well? Well, I would say that a good thing is that he finally got things out, that he said what he had to say that wasn't said before. And actually, it was a very interesting situation because she was assertive. She managed to be assertive, and that brought him to really show himself the way he was behaving with this. And it was, like Catherine said, in her case, the systemic reflect. It was the parallel process, invalidation, no recognition of what the coaching had brought and of what no added value. What went really badly, I think, is that we never managed to achieve agreeing on objectives and expected results. So recontracting was not possible. So we left this meeting with nothing, and at the same time with a lot, because we had this experience. So if I move on to analysis, step 4, well, first of all, it's how I can use what happened during the meeting to really be aware of the systemic reflect, and how when you are assertive, how you dare taking more space, how you dare to be. Well, it's homeostasis, and the boss wasn't really that happy anymore. And it was also about, stepping back to see all of that, going to supervision. So I called my supervisor, and we discussed the fact also that in France, I don't know how it is in all your countries, because you're from many other countries in the world, but there's a kind of Me Too that has just started in hospitals as well, where women doctors suddenly can dare saying, well, for example, he was saying, you're 15 minutes too late, because she had to bring her child to the school. And he wouldn't start the meeting 15 minutes later because that was impossible. And thanks to the supervision, we stepped back and we could see that there's something wider in the field. It's about, how women as doctors can really hold the space and say what they need as well. So it was very interesting because that Me Too article that came out in Le Monde came out like 2 weeks later after we'd had this session. And so if I move on to the conclusion, well, the idea was really that we could manage to build, to agree to recontract with new objectives and expected results. So we invited them to have another meeting, which they did, and eventually they agreed on something, even though I have to say it's still very tricky, and I'm not sure we are going to achieve anything. But anyway, and if I look back at the action plan, last step, it was very interesting to communicate with the HR, with my client, talking about, how women can say what they have to say, can hold the space, can be present in a different way. So it's really I7 in the 7I model. It was also interesting to talk about, how this, my learning, if I had to use a learning for the next step, for that step, I think what I'm taking away is how the culture and the environment is really can be named probably more at the beginning. It's something that I've learned, and especially in hospitals, as it's changing a lot at the moment. It's a very moving environment, but what is not moving in France at the moment, I'm wondering. So that's it for me.
Okay. So we gave you 2 examples from our practice, and we are going to enter in more details step by step. What we're going to propose you is to be in breakout rooms of two buddies to practice. On the first break room, you will have 15 minutes for one of you, and you will experiment the 3 first stages of Gibbs model. Nicola is going to put in the chat the questions I'm showing you here for the 3 first stages. Great, Nicola. You're so precious. So stage 1, description. Examples of questions are, what happened? When and where did it happen? Who was present? What did you and the other people do? What did you want to happen? That's for stage 1.
And then an important stage, especially in the Gibbs model, because that's what really made the difference compared to the other model that were existing at the time, is about the feelings. What were we feeling, whether it's me, the coach, and maybe the others during the situation, maybe before and after as well. And it's what was the impact? What impact did the emotions, beliefs, and values have?
Okay. And stage 3, evaluation. Questions can be, what went well? What was difficult or uncomfortable? What did you and other people contribute to the situation, positively or negatively? Okay, so we decided with Anne to break the process for the 3 first stage so that you can really have enough time to focus on each one, and especially on feelings, which is very important in this model. So the 2 of you in your breakout rooms, choose a case. It can be a case from your coaching practice, or a case of supervision, or a feedback from a client, or something that is also in front of you for action. It can also be used for action, and not only on action, on past action. So choose your case and go with these first 3 stages. I'm going just to stop the sharing for the moment, and we will welcome you back in 15 minutes to debrief for these first 3 stages. Is that clear for everyone?
Just one person. One person does the first 3 stages. We'll come back. Then after, the same person carries on with the 3 next stages. So you've got the 6 stages altogether. We all come back. And then after we switch, and it's the buddy who will have the time to do the 6 stages in one go.
Thank you. That's why we decided to break the process in 2 parts. For the first buddy of the breakout rooms, is to make you experiment this focus on feelings. Because if you do not take care, you're tempted to go all the way around and to emotions, feelings.
And what I'd like to highlight, it's really key in this model, and it's emotions, it's feelings, it's sensations, body sensations. And it's true that a lot of our clients, they're just in their heads and they don't take the time. And so we don't take the time either to go anywhere else. And we've got so much data. So it's really interesting that we should use that data rather than leaving either side.
Yeah, very good point. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I propose you to go back to the next stages, and you're going to go back in your breakout rooms after we've exposed the examples of questions that you can go through in your breakouts.
So yes, so stage 4 would be analysis, and Suresh will get there. Why did things go well? Why was it difficult or uncomfortable? What sense can I make of the situation? So I start already to step back a bit. And is there any model, any other results, anything that I could use to help me understand the situation?
Then stage 5, conclusion. What did I learn from this situation? How could this have been a more positive situation for everyone involved? What skills do I need to develop for me to handle a situation like this better? And what else could I have done?
There you are, Suresh. In the conclusion, you'll be happy. And there's an action plan then. If I had to do the same thing again, what would I do differently? How will I develop the required skills that I need if I know what I would like to achieve? And how can I make sure that I can act differently next time? So these are key questions, I agree. You can use it whenever you feel it's relevant, like any reflective and reflexive tool. You know, really, that's a really good point. And thank you for raising it. Whenever you feel it's relevant, please go for it.
Yeah.
And just to add on what it's written in the chat, yes, this model, first of all, wasn't used in coaching. It was created in education. You're absolutely right. So it's used in many different worlds, and we're using that great model as well in coaching.